Hi, folks. It's Dwayne with Dwayne Thomas Coaching,
And I'm David with davidandolita.com.
and we're here to chat with you, share a few stories about how to achieve optimal health.
And then I think the idea that we really want to impress is that you actually have control over your health, right? So often we kind of turn that control over to to another authorities and even medicine and that kind of thing. So Dwayne and I are kind of you know almost the opposite of that, where we're thinking that you can actually control your health through some of your own choices. Right?
Absolutely, and that's one of the keys to a fabulous book that I came across, I guess, a couple years ago now, called Food Over Medicine. I've since become a certified food over medicine instructor. It's a book by Dr. Pam Popper, who's a naturopath and executive of the Wellness Form Health Institute down in Columbus, Ohio. And some of you might know Pam from documentaries like Forks Over Knives and Food Choices. She was one of those outspoken experts who were really challenging the myth that animal foods are the way to optimal health, and really it's about a plant-centric diet will help extend your longevity, uh, give you greater mobility into your later years in life. And in fact, that makes me think about a story, David, you were mentioning about our Aunt Charlotte recently.
Yeah. Dwayne and I were down in Virginia, what a few maybe it was a month or so ago.
Yeah, I guess it was mid-March, something like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat how this whole thing came about because before we got there, like about a week or so before we got there, members of our church were actually invited to or study something called the Daniel diet, and this is based on the book of Daniel, I think, and it's Daniel's story that um, that he and his group wanted to maintain their own whole plant-based diet, and then the people who captured them and wanted to put them to work wanted them to go onto a diet, like a royal diet that included a lot of meat and stuff like that.
Right,
And they
thinking that that's the way to help them be as efficient and muscular and just do the most work possible eating royal foods, right?
exactly. And so they kind of issued a challenge, right? So we're kind of used to these kinds of challenges nowadays. We have the what 30-day fast or something like that, right? That kind of thing. And so they did something like that where they said, I'll bet you anything that, at the end of a certain amount of time, that we who are going to stay on a whole food plant-based diet are going to actually be healthier than the guards and who are on the royal diet where they're eating a lot of animal products and stuff like that. And lo and behold, the people who were on the Daniel diet were able to perform much better than the people on the royal diet. All right. Now the royal diet can also be equated to the American diet, if you will.
Right, the standard American diet, the
Exactly.
acronym SAD, the SAD diet. And the
There you
reason
go.
that it's sad is that so many people out there are suffering from chronic illness and disease, ranging from diabetes to gastrointestinal disorders like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, things that are really debilitating. And a lot of it has to do with the food that we're putting into our bodies. And so David and I are getting together here to just talk about ways to, first and foremost, to help raise awareness that you can change your habits and some of the entrenched ways of eating and behaving that we've inherited over the years. And those choices can bring about a different health outcome. And that comes back to our Aunt Charlotte. When we got down to Virginia
Yeah.
mid-March, we were there for her eldest brother's funeral, actually. And uh, the night before the funeral, I went over to my Aunt Charlotte's house. She was in a whole lot of pain. She's been having issues with her knees for quite some time now, actually.
Right.
And, she's been adamant about not wanting to have knee replacement surgery, even though she's been told that there's very little cartilage left in the joints. So there's sort of bone on bone. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that term, not only that term, but that feeling. And
Exactly.
so when I came over to see Aunt Charlotte the night before the funeral, She was in a ton of pain. She could barely sort of get to the door. She had to lean on pieces of furniture to navigate her way back to the couch. And it was really quite sad to see her in that situation, particularly realizing that tomorrow we were supposed to go to this funeral, or we had to go to this funeral. Not supposed to go. We were going to
Exactly.
the funeral for my Uncle Roscoe. And so I happened to have with me, or I brought over some fast-acting curcumin supplements, and I left those with her. And she was asking me, is it okay if I take them, or if I take more than one? And I just told her that's not an issue at all. Curcumin has no contraindications with any sorts of medications or anything that you might be ingesting at the time. And she'd been drinking a lot of water. She was told that that would help some of the joint pain that she was having, and it was having, she took some solace in that, but she also took the curcumin supplements. So the next day, she was very, very thankful to be able to have enough mobility to be able to move and go to the funeral. She didn't have any issues at all. And then following that, she had a conversation with David about some things that she might do to continue to improve.
Yeah, and my idea was to go ahead and go on a whole food plant-based diet, eliminate all animal products, right? Because the animal products was causing the inflammation. And Dwayne and I will, in subsequent conversations with you guys, are going to actually talk about the pathways of inflammation and how that starts really in the blood vessels, and how with a whole food plant-based diet, you're not going to have that inflammation. In fact, the inflammation will start just leaving the body, right? Now, with my aunt, she was actually we've talked about this before, right?
Right.
But now the time is right, because I think that she had the kind of inspiration that was required. I think sometimes when we have our faith, sometimes is really awesome when it validates a healthy lifestyle, right? And sometimes it doesn't.
Absolutely.
But in this awesome case, it did, with the whole Daniel's diet, and with her church kind of experimenting with that, and with her pastor really going all in on it, right? So there was like this kind of support, this kind of validation that she didn't have when we just were talking about. Dwayne and I would just talk about it to her in the past.
That's a good point, because we happened to come down there in the month of March, and the fast was ongoing for many church members. They had already lost significant amounts of weight. I think blood pressure had come down. Some of the things that you're going to see as a direct result from adopting plant-centric whole foods diet. And that's the key. I mean, you want to make sure that you're staying away from processed foods. I think David had also told our Aunt Charlotte, eliminate the fried foods. You don't want excess oils. Those are empty calories that are just going to help, that are going to put weight on your body and increase the inflammation. And inflammation really is the kind of the root of all chronic illness. And so if we are able to reduce that, lower the acidity within the body, then we're going to find relief for any kind of symptoms that we might have. And it's really quite impressive how, it doesn't matter what fruits and vegetables that you choose to eat. Sure, some have different properties that work in different ways, but it's really the phytochemicals, or you might hear the term phytonutrients, within plants and within fruits and vegetables that give the body the things that it needs to fight inflammation, to fight off viruses, and to maintain a healthy immune system, and to gradually help to detoxify the body as well.
Absolutely. And so anyway, so my Aunt Charlotte called the other day, and she said that she wanted to go to an event. Dwayne will talk probably a little bit more about this, but she wanted to go to an event, and she was saying she couldn't do it because of her knees. But then she, with some reflection, she was saying, wait a minute, actually my knees are feeling much better, and actually I can go to this event. And she actually did. And so, I think that's awesome. Now, I talked to her before she went to the event. I think Dwayne talked to her after she went to the event. But just the idea that she had this revelation that now she's feeling much better. And she was so thankful. She wasn't thankful really just Dwayne and I necessarily. She was thankful to God, right? she said that, Dwayne and I were kind of sent there in a sense by God to kind of help her, reinforce some of these better habits, better nutritional habits. So
Yeah,
I
and
was just
just
really happy to hear
for sure,
her talk about that.
and and it was really about making the decision to choose to do something a little bit different, right? She changed her diet, and in fact, David and I kind of chuckled. She was also telling me that on Sunday, I think she had decided that she would go ahead and partake in her normal diet, and but then come Monday morning, she was back to the really plant-centric way of eating, and it helped her a ton. And what it was the church was going up to Washington D.C. to the new Black History Museum, and my aunt had even years prior she had just kind of written off the ability to go onto get onto a bus, first like physically get onto the bus and go on a tour and do all the walking and mount the stairs that you need to do when you're doing something like that. And I think the story went something like this. There was another woman who was supposed to be one of the chaperones, and sort of in the 11th hour, she declined, or she was just unable to come. And so it was at that point that my aunt said, well, you know what? I should go. And as David said, I'm feeling better. I'm going to go on this trip. And so she got on the bus. She was sort of impressed that she could get on the bus. And she was able to enjoy that entire trip to the museum. I still haven't gone yet. I hear it's spectacular. The lines are the lines are really long, just put it that way. But still, it's supposed to be worth the visit. If you can split it up in a couple of days, it works even better, I'm told. But it really was, I think, in my aunt's mind, it's sort of a minor miracle that happened. But the miracle was really of her own making, and in her mind as well, it's the hands of God that were helping that transformation in her life. But
exactly.
We have to be sort of the agents of that change as well, right? We have to be part and parcel, making good decisions, making conscious choices that can help us heal if indeed we are in a situation where we need healing. And quite frankly, we all are in that situation. Some of us might be sort of pre-symptomatic, but it's really critical to recognize how adopting a plant-centric diet, a whole foods plant-centric diet, is really the way to make sure that you can enjoy your family, your friends, your loved ones for as long as you're on this earth.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the body is actually divinely designed, if you want to go back into that, right? The spiritual aspect of it. If given the chance, the body has this innate ability, right, just to heal itself. Okay.
And that's the thing. It's given a chance, right? And the other piece is like relying on. Now, we should all have a family physician, right? We should talk to our doctors, but we have to remember to think for ourselves at the same time. And just because someone has a prescription that they might be able to write out for you, or gives you a certain diagnosis and might sort of condemn you to a series of medications, that really doesn't have to be your truth. There are many, many different stories out there, and David, we talk about this quite often, actually. People who've been told that they can't do X or they can't do Y. They change their diet, they change their lifestyle, they get some movement into their lives in addition to fruits and vegetables, and lo and behold, they've defeated the sort of the sentence they've been given by their physician. And I'm not here to vilify physicians or anything like that, but I am here to say this. Once you have that awareness that you have more power than you may have thought to change your health outcome, it's up to you. It's up to you to make the choice that you want to make to see whether or not there's value there. And in my view, the choice that we make has to come from us, and it shouldn't be made for you by someone else. right? I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you what to do, but I am here to tell you that just changing your diet can bring about monumental changes in your health, and I think that's something to celebrate.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So we'll be coming with words of wisdom, some insights, and we hope to get your feedback as well, giving us some ideas about things that you want to hear about. My email address. What am I talking about? my website is Dwayne Thomas Coaching, and what I want to do is make sure that every week we're coming in to your living room with something worthwhile that can help you think about things a little bit differently. Maybe it'll be an affirmation of something that you've thought yourself, or point you in a direction that helps you feel more empowered about taking charge of your own health.
Beautiful. All right, and maybe next time we can talk about a little bit more about inflammation and how we can actually reverse ill effects of inflammation. Essentially, any disease ending in the word itis, like arthritis, etc.
Right.
That's caused by inflammation, and there's so much we can do about that. Don't give up hope, okay? Don't give up hope on your body's innate ability, okay, to heal itself.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
All right. Bye.
Ciao.
Cool.